$23 a month. So I go 3 movies per week, late night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when no one's there. I buy my little snacks because I'm too fucking cheap to spend $75 on popcorn and a soda. My daughter's like,
you got a little mortadella sandwich under the arm.
slice of pizza. My daughter's like, what are you doing? Fuck it, I'm not spending $50. Movies are too expensive, but I love the movies, and I encourage everyone to go. It's to me, it was my whole life, and watching TV as a kid, and as I got older, the movies became my life. I used to go all the time, like I do now. And you want to know what? I'll tell you now. I've been doing it. I'm 50-something years old. I've been doing it my whole life. I still go, and no one, I still go to the movies, and I still get excited. It's almost like it's every time I pull up to the AMC, I still get like now, like last 2 nights ago, I was like, this is insane.
You know what my favorite place was growing up? I swear to God, man, I was obsessed, not infatuated, obsessed with the movie store. Like when I used to go rent cassettes. I used to love the video store. I used to love them. I couldn't get out of those places.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, come on, Blockbuster was the biggest thing we had as kids. It's like you used to buy popcorn, candy, rip the shit, 4 or 5 movies. You don't know what you wanted to watch. Just ripping people that excitement is still in my heart, like for movies and film in Hollywood. Like I still get like that. Like especially when I go to movies or if there's something I want to watch, I'm like, okay, it's that like 5-year-old when I was sitting on the couch mentality, like in their house going, that mentality going, I want to do this. And people go, when did you become famous? Sopranos? I have headshots at 12. I show people at 12 I have headshots. They're like, holy shit. Yeah, Sopranos was 2000. I did it for 30 years before Sopranos. Like I would do all my student films, but I was 12, 13. I would take the Manhattan Express bus down to Manhattan. It was $1, I think. And I would just sit on the bus as a kid and watch the whole Manhattan from the Bronx to go through Harlem to Fifth Avenue to the end, to NYU. And I would take that bus all the time to Manhattan, back and forth. I would walk around as a kid, dude.
Wow.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, and then when I got a car, I would drive down and park. But the Manhattan Express taught me not just film, like not just going to my destination, but that Manhattan Express bus taught me there's more than the Bronx. I would sit in there and go through Manhattan. I would tell dudes when I got old, let's go to Manhattan. It's all the way there. I'm like, it's fucking 13 minutes. What do you mean all the way there? And that's that mindset that people have in our community, like in the Bronx, Brooklyn, New York, is they'll never go outside of their zone. They're too comfortable and they have their house every day. They work. Me, I'm an adventurer.
Happens here too, Lou. Happens here too.
Everywhere. But most neighborhoods, that's what I'm saying. Most communities, people don't. You have to, because they're afraid. They don't want to go there. It's so lazy. Me, that Manhattan Express taught me there's more than the Bronx. And it would light me up. I'd be watching on that bus. And I was too young to drive, so I had the bus as my driver. And it would take me 2 hours to get from the Bronx to 23rd Street. And it would end there. And I would get off, walk around old Manhattan, do all the shit. And then I would get back on at 23rd and go back again up the other side on Madison Avenue. That was all from the Manhattan Express. And that made me, I've driven across country 4 times. I love driving. I think that was kind of the start of it. Like going, yeah, it's just cool.
Tell us about that cross country trek to LA. Tell us about it.
Was great. It was great. I was 25 years old. I had a car and $5,000. Nothing. I didn't know anyone in LA. The director from Amongst Friends called up and said, hey, man, now this was at a time in 1991, 92, all my friends had gotten arrested in the Bronx, like a bunch of them, so all my close friends. So there was nobody around. So this is almost, I think, a God intervention kind of mentality, where I'm sitting in the Bronx and I got nothing. All my friends went to jail, and I'm sitting in the Bronx and I'm going, holy shit, like, what do I do? I got nothing. And Rob, the director, this is 93 now. We shot Amongst Friends in 91, right? So 2 years later, all this happens, and I get this call from Rob going, hey, dude, remember that movie, Amongst Friends? I'll film it. That's the Sundance Film Festival. No one knew what Sundance was. The year we were there was Robert Rodriguez, Jennifer Lynch, Bryan Singer, massive directors came out that year. This is when kids were just kids making films with their mom. This is when Sundance was a real independent film festival. It wasn't what it is today, film market. So we just were like, let's do it. What else do I got? I have nothing. And he called and said, hey, our film's at the festival. And I was like, I look around, there's nothing left in the Bronx. No one's around. They're all in jail. People are miserable. And I'm like, okay. I got the $5,000 I had. I took my Maxima. I took the other chubby guys from Amongst Friends, right? I get them in the car. People think we're brothers. The two jogging suits. I don't know. You got to watch Amongst Friends if you don't know Vic and Eddie. You'll get it. You'll get all these comments, and you'll be like, nah. You'll be like, nah, I get it. Anyway, we got in the car. We drove from the Bronx to LA, picked up Mira and the other guy, and then we all drove to Sundance. But I'm saying that was the drive, and we drove across country. Again, you know what that did? That made me realize there was more than New York, not just the Bronx. That drive was like, holy shit, And I think a lot of this comes too from when I was really young. My grandfather was in prison in Lewisburg for a long time. So as kids, my grandmother, we would all go to Pennsylvania every month in the wagon. So as a kid, I would be like, sitting in the back of that wagon going to Delaware, New York. So going through there as a kid now, 5, 6, 7, to Pittsburgh, to Lewisburg all the time and back. So I saw a lot of the country early on. And then when we stopped doing that, like as kids doing the whole road trip, the whole family would go and all the families would go. That's what I would do to Manhattan Expresses. And that's when I really started loving the mentality of there's so much more. Everybody in the Bronx and New York and Brooklyn, and not a bad thing, they all have this mindset of that's where their lives are. I'm an adventurer. I'm like that guy who goes out and don't care if he fails or not, because me trying is not failing. Not trying is failing. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense because, see, with that, I say the same thing. Look, you got to take a shot, man. What's the worst that can happen? You learn an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I did. And look what happened. All my friends went away. It was sad because these are my brothers, and they all got like 20 years, long times in prisons. And my grandfather did 30 straight years, but all of that stuff, like the driving to my grandmother to Pennsylvania and then taking the Manhattan Express down, really made me understand that there is a whole world out there and no one understands it. So I explored, and look what happened. I took a shot and it worked out. But it's each part, like getting there to doing it. So I got there because I was adventurous, all of that little stuff in my early life, right? But when I got there, I was prepared to do it. Those 10 years of NYU films, being on set, makeup, hair, wardrobe, when I got to sets, I was fearless. I was like, I got this. And I was always confident. I could always walk around neighborhoods and everyone liked me. So with people, I was always great. So when I go on all these auditions, these producers would love me because it wasn't about the audition. It was about, hey, nice to meet you. Personality, and then do the role. And they'd be like, he's great to be on set with, and he's good at actor. And all that training I did at NYU was that. So it wasn't like it just happened. 10 years of NYU films, independent films, all those little things in New York, being on real sets, I think helped me more than anything. So when I got there, I was prepared. So I took the journey, but more importantly, I was prepared when I took the journey, right? You know what I'm trying, so when I left it.
Lou, all those experiences. Look, I mean, I always say this, no matter what industry you're in, there's technical knowledge, there's books, but there's nothing that can replace hands-on experience.
That's why I'm not a believer in the acting classes, because you're sitting there and you're just doing it in a mirror with the same 8 people. That's not acting. That's not acting. I've done 100 movies. I've done 10 series. I've done, I don't know, 3 like the biggest series in TV history: Sopranos, 24, Entourage, like recognizable. And that is not acting. You need to be in the trenches. You need to, it's a battle. There's so much going on, and a lot of people are not confident. So when there's stuff being said and done, that kind of fucks with their mind, and they kind of forget their lines. And that's when I call it the downhill spiral. Me, I don't really care. You could say shit to me, I'll be like, I'll see you in a little while, and I'll run my shit, and it's all about focusing and being on set. So when kids ask me today, well, what do you do? I go, you go spend $1,000 in a club on a Friday, you and your 3 buddies, put $5,000 into a fucking camera and go shoot a short film. Oh no, okay. You want to be found and such, the star in the bar. Hey, I'm at the club. So you don't really want it. You want it to be handed to you. You know, I killed myself for everything since I'm a kid. You know, I didn't know anyone in LA. I didn't have any acting experience. I didn't go to any acting school. And I ended up conquering it all. And I think my biggest advantage when I got out here was the streets was my biggest teacher because Hollywood it bred me for Hollywood, which is almost worse than the streets. Hollywood is fucking tough. All rejection, all pounding you down. You work very few, but I was always able to not have that fear because of the streets. I think so. It's another thing. So the Bronx was the best thing ever. New York to me, it bred me as a tough person mentally. It made me adventurous by driving through the city and stuff. So all of that the experiences as a kid, you know, bred me for that journey, and not just the drive, but the hecticness and the frustrations. And I would live in a house with all these guys when I got here, and I would cook for everyone. So everyone would come to our house, and we would all do these like fun parties and stuff, right? And a lot of them became massively famous, by the way. We were no ones. We would all just hang out, you know. So they would all come to my house. Michael Rappaport, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Toby. I would see when they were kids at parties. They were the coolest young kids. Uh, House of Pain guys. My goodness, I can go down the line. I have videos of my old video camera was the big one. I used to video at the house, and they all became famous. It was so cool, you know. It was like this. My house was like the halfway house, but the house I lived with, it was the beast.
A couple people had
You would have moved
a
out.
couple people had ankle monitors.
You would have moved out in a minute. But anyway, I was like the gorilla. I came from the Bronx. I was always aggressive, you know. But and the rest of the people weren't. One was from Long Island. One was from like Queens. But they was like not like me. You know, not saying that what I was good, but they were more civilized. So they didn't understand the hustle and the rejection and the frustration. They would be like break down if they didn't get a role. I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I'd be like, I'll see you on the next one. I see you later. And I just didn't care. And they would be so nervous and upset if they didn't get something. To me, it was like the next thing, the next thing. And 31 years later, I'm still here with massive stuff happening, even bigger today than it did 30 years ago. I have stuff, I don't even post it because I don't want, but I have like big shows going. Movie that I just started in New York, I shot it. Horror franchise. It's going to be insane. My buddy Don Caprio directed it. Dude is a genius, this kid. Not kid, he's 40 something. He's my buddy. I know him 15 years. We shot this film and we've been working on it for 3 or 4 years. This thing's about to come out in September. It's going to be massive.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I star in the whole horror franchise, so, and then I have a TV show about my life. I have big things that are rolling right now, so, but my point is I'm still as persistent as I was at leaving that Bronx or even in my NYU films at 12, go back to now, till today. I wake up every day electric, and believe it or not, I wake up every day happy. My daughter's always like, "Oh, you're always happy." I go, even my ex-wife, you're always happy. You know why? Because I didn't end up knock on wood in jail or dead. I ended up getting this amazing second chance at life, and I love the Bronx. I love my friends, my family. I love the Bronx. It's like my life. Like I would never go, I'm not from the Bronx. I am the Bronx. I don't want to sound like J-Lo and get a bunch of hate.
Nah, that's good, dude. I love that.
But I am. And I go back there, the first thing I do is call my dudes. Let's go smoke cigars. Let's get pizza. All right, 20 of us are at the, you see the photos on my Instagram. We're all eating again, eating mozzarella and sandwiches. That'll always be my life. Always. Hollywood is my life, but that is me, the Bronx. So anyway, so as I developed all this stuff, so I started writing this book. It's almost done, right? And it's called Breaking the Cycle, right? From tragedies to triumphs. It's almost done. This is going to be a decent book because it's about when the worst things happened in my life. That's when the biggest things happened. And that's what I try to explain to people. And that's just fact. I'm going to tell you 3 examples. Like, okay, let me, all my friends and my family, went to prison, all my guys in the Bronx, everyone. The Bronx is kind of like that. You're in that world of gangsters and everyone's doing stuff, right? Not against it. I love it. I mean, that would have been me if I didn't get lucky, I guess, and just say, here's your shot, and didn't accept it. So when my father was killed when I was 3, people, oh, that's terrible. And I go, well, maybe it actually wasn't, because if he was alive, would I have become an actor? Probably not, because he was a street person. So no one accepted that. Even my friends, what's this? What's acting? They would laugh at my NYU films. So that mindset was like, what I did was, and I was always visiting prisons as a child, up until 40 years of my life, and I would always go because I love all those people, I love every one of them. They're not bad people. If you knew them, you'd be like, yeah, fucking, so a lot of them weren't bad people. So they got railroaded and they got 30, 40, 20, 30 years in prison. So I always would say, would that be me? Or my father was like, would I have been in that world still? Would I have had no choice? Would I have been an actor? Probably not. Probably not. Would I have been on the streets? Probably. Would I have been probably dead or in jail? Probably. So in the book, that tragedy ended up breaking the cycle. Because now my daughter will never know what it's like to visit people in prison. She sees my life, which is a normal life. Not normal, but normal where there's no, I'm not like in trouble. I'm not going to jail. Hope not. And you know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying? So that cycle was broken for my generations, my daughters and mine, which I feel that's one of the proudest things in my life. So as I started doing movies, breaking, like I broke the cycle. Like I got canceled from a show and I thought it was the worst thing ever in 1997, right? I was starring on a show in Hawaii called Fantasy Island. And Malcolm McDowell, me, Barry Sonnenfeld did it. It was his show. So my first show, I moved to Hawaii. I'm shooting the show, and the show's a bomb for ABC. It's a $50 million show, and I'm the star of it with Malcolm, and it's bombing, right? And my first show, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, you get that feeling of like, wow, ship is sinking. They fire me. I go, I'm 30 years old, living in Hawaii, making 30 grand a week, beautiful life, thinking the show's bombing, you're getting so I got the blame for it, and they fire me a month after the show gets canceled because no one wanted to work with them. They're like, you fired the best guy on the show. They were using me as a scapegoat, but it was still like, okay, okay, bye. Thank you for my opportunity. And not sarcastically, but thank you. If you want me again ever for something, I'm always, I go to New York to visit my mother. It was Christmas time after I got fired. No bullshit. A week later, Georgianne Walken finds out I'm in New York as soon as I get there. Louis in town? Tell him to come up right now. Second season of Sopranos, the biggest show in the history of TV. I went from a failing ship when it looked the worst. Again, it became the biggest. Because if that didn't lift that, would I have been on Sopranos? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So what so would that have happened if I didn't get fired? And it was terrible. I was getting the blame. Next thing you know, I'm the star. I'm like, not starring, but I'm on one of the biggest shows on TV with a prominent role with a guy who I knew for 30 years since I was a kid, Vinny Pastore.
Pastore, yeah.
Get it? You see the little small world? So it was kind of like, thank God I got fired because now I'm starring. And then that led me to 24 because the creator, Joe Cernow, who does 24, saw me on Sopranos as a cop and said, I want you to do one episode of our show on 24. And I was like, oh, I thought I was going to have a gun, chasing Jack Bauer. Turns out I was this quiet, crying genius tech guy at the desk. And it went from one episode to 48. And we actually won an Emmy for Best Drama. It was great. I was on stage, So, again, being fired led me to the biggest things in my life again, even later on in my life. So the book is called Breaking the Cycle. If your families are alcoholics or drug addicts or whatever it may be in your family, abuse, whatever, you could break the cycle. You could change that and not bring it to your daughter and your kids and your family and their future generations. Most people don't. They carry that stuff. Oh, I was abused. Okay. I grew up in an alcoholic family. Okay. My whole family was drug addicts. Okay. My whole life, criminals, drug addicts, drug dealers, and I don't even drink. I partied when I was younger, but now I just sit home, I work, I write, I do my pizza stuff. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like just get out there and do shit, and shit will happen. If negative stuff happens, which that's life. Life is fucking negative, right? Not in a bad way. It just is what it is. You put on the news, depressing. You go outside, people are honking at you. And I'm a mellow guy with my coffee. I don't even honk you. I don't care. I wave to people. I don't want no smoke. I just want to enjoy my life. So that goes back to my daughter saying, why are you happy? Because I wake up happy and I walk around if I'm by myself. I just love my life, what it became from where it was. and it's still going, massively, even bigger now. So that's the point of why I feel grateful and happy every single day, man. You have no idea how I feel. I don't care if I have $1 or 10 million. I'm the same person.
Well, Lou, and let me jump in to say that I'm noticing patterns when you're speaking. So gratitude, that's paramount, man. You got to be grateful. That means a lot. The positive vibes, that means a lot. But three things I'm picking up on throughout your life from what you're telling me is you had the ambition, you had the persistence, and most of all, you had the confidence. And those three ingredients are powerful.
Yeah, confidence is everything. And no matter what you do in life, you got to be able to walk into a room and make people accept, like, or respect you. you know, that's it. And if you can't do that, it's kind of a detriment in life. That's why I try to teach my daughter, when you're speaking to people, speak confidently. If you don't know what you're saying, or you don't know what you're talking about, I should say, don't talk, learn. I do that all the time. If you see me in a room and I'm sitting there, I'm learning everything that people are listening. You won't hear me say a word. But if I'm confident and know what I'm saying, I'll get up on the grandstand. I'll talk exactly. And again, that's my acting experience, but that's all my business as well that I do now with the pizza shows and stuff. We
Tell us about,
we bang out.
tell us about the business.
Well, I started this. I cook every night. Again, I'm brought up by all women. My grandmother, my mother, my aunt, and uh, all I did was cook since I'm a baby. My grandmother would cook for all of us. My grandmother was the best. She would cook for all of us every day, all day. My mother would. So I was always in the kitchen. So if I didn't become an actor, I was going to go to cooking school. When I got older, I was going to say, fuck, I was going to go open pizzerias or whatever, restaurants. So I always cooked as a baby. And my grandmother's father was an old Italian man. He would come to the house. He would open these pizzas from his garden, the thick crust with the crushed tomatoes from his garden, the basil, the Parmesan, no mozzarella. And I would always be fascinated. The olive oil, he would open the tin foils as a baby. I remember it like now. So flash 50 years later, me and my daughter cook every night now. We do, like I did when I was a kid. So we were always in the kitchen. Even now, I teach how to we make our own pastas, our own raviolis, our own breads, everything. I love it. So it kind of goes back to that. So what I did was I go, let's start this pizza company. And Ava's my daughter, and I'm Lou. So it's Ava Lou's, the name after me and her.
Nice.
Yeah, because we're together doing it, and we cook all the time together, right? And I went back to New York. The pizzas are made in New York with New York water. They're unbelievable, high. What I did was, for all my years of experience, I created a New York pizza, and I froze it to see if it would work. Like you would buy in the corners, the Sicilians and the grandma pies. And it took me 2 years, dude. I was the most annoyed. The guy must have hated me at the factory, but he loved me because he's still with me. Right? But I'd be like, no, the tomatoes have to be crushed. He goes, they won't go through the nozzles, Lou. You're talking about making 10,000 pizzas a day. I was like, okay, so we're going to squish it till the nozzles go. He's like, okay. He ground it to me because I wanted the little chunks. And if you notice, every frozen pizza is a red paste. Like pasty red shit. I go, no, I won't. 2 years, I had 3 sauce guys dropping stuff off. They were sending it to me. So that with the dough had to be like a 65 to 70% hydration, so you get the area fluffier crust, right? So they couldn't do it because it was at 70%. It was getting stuck in the machinery. It was so sticky at 70% the hydration on a pizza. The dough. You know what I'm talking about or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. So he's like, okay, we got to reduce to 65. And I was like, okay, 65 it was sticking in the mechanic. When I got down to like 63% hydration, it was perfect to the mechanics. So I ended up solving that problem. But I added a little more yeast to it, a little fresh yeast, so it gives it a flavor, but it still gave it back to rise. And it's a unique flavor to this pizza. I have like a couple of special things I do. The process is almost everything and more than the ingredients, because everybody makes flour, water, dough, yeast, salt. But it's the process of how you do it. How long you ferment it? Is it 20 or 48 hours, 24 hours, or just 12 hours? Busy pizzerias can't put 50 pounds of dough in a freezer for every 2 days. So they kind of lay it, they make it in the morning, 10 hours later, they're using it. It's still fine. I just become like, I love the process of making it simply or not or whatever. Like I do everything in my house. I love cooking. So I kind of made this pizza, and I made a New York pizza, and I would freeze them and see how they came at the factory. I don't want a frozen pizza. This has to be a New York pizza. And it all came from the foundation of 50 years ago, watching my great-grandfather bring those pizzas. That's the base model. That's what it's from.